What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry I haven't been uploading the last couple of weeks, but um, Arsenal 4, Tottenham 1 again for the second time this season. We beat Spurs by 4 goals to 1. Um, and there were some similarities with this performance yesterday and the performance in November. Um, The main similarities are I felt like from start to finish, we dominated that game. Watching the first half, yes, it was 1-1 at halftime, but I thought we were the much better side and we deserved to be up we deserved to be up by at least 1 goal, maybe 2 or 3. Well, 3 is an exaggeration. 1, maybe 2, right? And in the second half, we just turned it up, and we put Tottenham to bed. Um, Another similarity is, Tottenham are awful. They are awful. This team could go down, ladies and gentlemen. This team could really, really go down. They're 4 points off the relegation zone as things stand. They're really about 5 points, only because they have a significantly better goal difference than West Ham. So it would take some more beatings for Spurs to acquire a worse goal difference than West Ham. But Spurs are awful. I mean, in the first game and the second game, players holding onto the ball for too long, not releasing, not knowing how to defend, how to attack, trying to, at some stages play a low block, but being unsuccessful in doing so. Some stages trying to press, but it was a half-hearted press. A little bit of a press at first, but then when Arsenal would play a few passes around, they would get back into their shape. So a very disjointed Spurs performance, and we saw that in both games. However, I do want to focus on our performance, and again, in the first half, I felt that our performance was really good. I felt like we deserved, as I said, to go into halftime with a lead. Obviously, we took the lead through Eze. A very good finish. He flicks the ball up in the air, then just smashes it in, below Vicario. It was a good finish. It was, good play from Saka. But then literally 2 minutes later, Declan Rice makes an incredible mistake. I don't know what he's thinking. He's trying to dribble out of pressure in his own 18-yard box, I don't know why he doesn't just clear it. Spurs weren't posing much of a threat, so keeping possession wasn't the main target in that situation. The main target in that situation is just to clear your line, so you don't allow anything bad to happen. And unfortunately, he gets picked off by Kolo Muani. Muani takes like 3 or 4 touches, and he rifles it into the net, and it was right below David Raya. Can't blame David Raya. I mean, it's in that awkward position where his leg wouldn't reach it, and it was hit with so much pace that he couldn't dive down in time so that his arm would reach it. But we go in 1-1 at the halftime, and at halftime, and again, we had so many chances. I mean, Saka had an opportunity. It was a ball played over the top. Vicario did well to come off his line. I heard people criticizing Saka, be more aggressive in that situation, but imagine Saka just catches Vicario and just doesn't catch the ball on his head. That's a red card. So I don't really blame Saka for not really, going for that with his full force. There was another opportunity though, right after Spurs equalized, where Hincapié played a beautiful ball over the top. Saka, running in on it again. And, Vicario closed him down well. He did, but I still think Saka should be scoring that. It is what it is. I mean, Saka had an assist yesterday, maybe two, I'm not sure, but I thought he played really well. I thought he was our best attacker by far. I know Eze scored twice. I know Gyökeres scored twice, but I thought Saka was our best attacker. A constant threat on that right-hand side, destroying Spence, Sarr, anybody who would come over and try to cover him. He was just exploiting them. I think, in the second half we just turned up the heat. We just turned up the heat. Gyökeres with the second goal. Fantastic finish. Takes it from outside the box. Nobody closes him down, which is appalling defending from Tottenham, but he's able to take a touch, turn, and rifle it into the back of the net for 2-1. And then we had a couple more chances. Saka had a shot that was saved. He had to shoot it where he did, because if he tried to shoot far post, it would have been blocked by Dragusin. But, that was a chance. I forgot in the first half, Trossard had a chance that was deflected. It went behind for a corner. Gyökeres had a shot that almost went in like the 6th minute. It was just a game where we created chance after chance after chance, and we thoroughly deserved all the goals that we scored. And then, Dragusin with another shocking header. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. He had time to take it down and just clear it. He decides to head it back into trouble. It finds Eze, who plays in Saka. His shot gets blocked, and it rolls to Eze after deflecting off of, I think it was Paulinho, and Eze scored to make it 3-1. And at that point, you're thinking, yeah, Spurs are out of this, because even though we've been poor defensively recently, Spurs are just offer nothing. They just offer absolutely nothing. And their goal, their only goal of the game was a gift from us, right? So we knew that the only way Spurs would have a chance to get a point out of this was if we let them back in the game through a mistake. Spurs thought they had equalized at 2-2 with a cross from Gallagher that got deflected. Muani put the ball in the back of the net, but they called a foul on Gabriel. Gabriel did the same thing against Newcastle, where a ball gets whipped in and he rises, and Voltermata shoves him in the back a little bit, and Gabriel flops, and Voltermata gets his head on it and scores, and it wasn't called a foul then. This is very similar. I'm surprised it was called a foul. I am surprised it was called a foul. I can understand why the referee called it a foul, but VAR, I thought VAR would intervene and change the referee's decision, but they didn't. So it stayed 2-1. Obviously, Eze scored, made it 3-1, which I just touched on, and then the last real chance for Tottenham, ball comes in. I think it was from Jed Spence. Goes to Richarlison, a little flick, gets behind Raya, but Raya's able to claw it off the line, and then Mosquera is able to clear it into safety. So, stayed 3-1. And then Gyökeres again just bullied Archie Gray. And to be fair to Archie Gray, he was playing center half in that position or in that situation. And he is not a center half. He's just not a center half. So he got bullied. He's also like 19 years old too, so he's not he's not strong enough yet. But hopefully for him he gets stronger. I'm not sure, but Gyökeres just completely bullied him and scored to make it 4-1. And I was really impressed with our performance because it seemed like even after taking the lead in the second half and in the first, well, it was too early to tell in the first half, but in the second half, we kept going for more. And if you guys have been watching this channel this season, you guys will know that I've been stressing the importance of killing teams off. Not sitting back and hanging on to a lead and hoping the final whistle blows and time wasting and using all the dark arts. Yeah, that's fine when you're genuinely under the cosh. But when you're playing a team that is near the bottom and struggling, there's no excuse to just not put that team away. There's just no excuse. Like when Wolves pulled it back to 2-1, we should have went and just killed them off. I don't know why we didn't do that, right? And they ended up equalizing, and we drew the game, and we had very little time to try to score a third and win the game. So, it's like I was happy to see that we tried to kill off Tottenham, and that's exactly what we did. We knew that Spurs were vulnerable. We knew that Spurs were garbage. We knew that Spurs just are fighting for their lives. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Spurs are fighting for their lives at the bottom of the table. And we put them to the sword. Our XG was, I think, 1.8. To be honest, I'm surprised it wasn't higher because we had so many chances. And we scored so many goals, obviously. But, it finished 4-1. Very good performance. Since I wasn't here to talk about Brentford and Wolves, I guess I'll touch on that now. Listen, Brentford I understand because Brentford's a good team. It was away from home. But we went 1-0 up. And, again, our defense should carry us through. I don't understand. I mean, I know Igor Thiago's having a good season. He's the second highest goal scorer in the league. But, that's a game we should be winning. Okay, you can understand why we dropped points in it, fine. But Wolves, guys, Wolves have picked up that draw to us was, I think, Wolves' 10th point of the season. I mean, I have to look. It's either 9, 10, or 11, something like that. They've picked up 10 points in 27 or 28 games. I mean, that is horrendous. That is awful. At one stage it was looking like they might be the worst Premier League team of all time. And it still might be that way, It still might be that way, but they are terrible, and they're one of the worst Premier League sides in history. I went into the game thinking, listen, this team is essentially a championship team. Essentially a championship team masquerading as a Premier League side. That's how awful they've been. And we barely beat them at the Emirates. We got lucky. 2 own goals against Wolves, and we beat them 2-1. I mean, that is shithousery to the extreme. Wolves got their equalizer in the 90th minute, right? So we go into the game against Wolves, and we're sitting there thinking, let's learn from our mistakes against Wolves in the first game. We take the lead, and then we sit back. Well, we went 2-0 up. Go after them. I'm sorry. I don't care. Go after them. There's no reason to retreat. There is no reason to retreat against Wolverhampton. They get the goal back literally 2 minutes after we score, and, to make it 2-0. They get the goal back, and it is, it is just defensive from that point on. I really don't understand it. I really don't understand it. But, you know, the title race is still very much on. We're 5 points ahead of Man City. They have a game in hand, but they have to win that game in hand. And Man City. I've said it before. To me, this isn't the Man City of a few years ago, where last 10 games of the season they win all 10. I just don't see that being the case with this team. You never know, but I just don't see it. I really just don't see it. With that being said, we're going to drop points too. We're going to drop points too. And, we play Man City in April. We play Man City in April away from home. We have to win that game. We have to win that game. Or draw. But we have to get a result. We have to get a result. But, this will be an interesting title race. So, lock in and see what happens. But hopefully we can win this league. I really want us to win this league, guys. I've been an Arsenal fan for 10, 11 years. I started watching consistently week in, week out in about 2018, Arsene Wenger's last season. And all I've seen are FA Cups. That's all I've seen. I didn't see the Invincibles. I didn't see the 2 double winning teams before the Invincibles. I didn't see that. So I need to see, a Premier League trophy. I really do. And this is a great time to pick it up. I mean, it's now or never for Mikel Arteta. It is now or never for Mikel Arteta. I don't think the club feels that way, but I certainly feel that way, right? So we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching. A longer video today, but leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought of the video, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.